Ladies and gentlemen, emotionally detaching from situations, people, or even our own feelings can be one of the most difficult yet necessary skills to cultivate for mental peace and emotional well-being. It doesn't mean abandoning emotions or being cold-hearted. Rather, it involves learning to manage and control the influence of our emotions so that we are not overwhelmed by them. In today's world, where we are constantly bombarded by external stimuli and where our relationships and work pressures can cause us emotional distress, learning how to emotionally detach can give us the strength to navigate through life with clarity, balance, and resilience. Emotions are a natural and essential part of human experience. They are our body's way of signaling how we feel about something, whether it's joy, sadness, anger, or fear. These emotions can be positive or negative, but the key is to recognize that they are often temporary states. It is easy to get swept away by intense emotions, especially when we're faced with challenging situations. Whether we're dealing with a difficult breakup, a conflict at work, family issues, or personal disappointments, we may become emotionally entangled in the event or relationship, allowing our feelings to dictate our thoughts and behaviors. This is where emotional detachment comes in. Emotional detachment does not require you to become numb to your feelings. It does not mean ignoring or repressing what you feel. In fact, emotional detachment is about acknowledging and accepting your emotions while choosing not to let them control you. By emotionally detaching, you allow yourself the space to process your emotions in a healthy way without being overpowered by them. You learn to create boundaries with your emotions, giving yourself the ability to respond rather than react. A significant part of emotionally detaching is gaining control over your mind. Our thoughts and emotions are closely linked, and often our thoughts fuel our emotional reactions. For example, if you believe someone has wronged you, your emotional response may be anger or hurt. However, if you shift your perspective and think about the situation from a different angle, you may begin to feel differently. This is where emotional detachment can help you. By training your mind to step back and reframe your thoughts, you create space between the event and your emotional reaction. One way to emotionally detach is by practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment or attachment. It allows you to become more aware of the present moment and helps you distinguish between your thoughts and your actual experience. When you practice mindfulness, you are less likely to get swept away by your emotions because you learn to observe them as they arise rather than becoming entangled in them. This allows you to make more conscious decisions about how to respond to situations. Another key element of emotional detachment is learning to set healthy boundaries. Often we become emotionally enmeshed in other people's problems or emotions. We may take on their stress, anxiety, or anger, allowing it to affect our own emotional state. Setting clear boundaries is essential for emotional well-being. This involves recognizing where your emotions end and where someone else's begin. It is important to remember that you are not responsible for other people's emotions, and it's okay to protect your emotional space by limiting your involvement in situations that cause you stress or anxiety. A critical aspect of emotional detachment is self-awareness. The more you understand yourself, your triggers, and your emotional patterns, the better equipped you will be to detach emotionally in challenging situations. Take time to reflect on your emotional responses and why you react in certain ways. Do certain situations or people consistently cause you emotional distress? What patterns do you notice in your reactions? Self-awareness allows you to understand the root causes of your emotions and gives you the tools to respond more effectively. Another effective practice for emotional detachment is practicing self-care. When you're emotionally drained, it's harder to detach from your emotions because you lack the energy to do so. Taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally creates a stronger foundation from which you can respond rather than react. Engaging in activities that bring you joy, exercising, meditating, or simply resting always to replenish your emotional reserves. When you prioritize your well-being, you create the emotional resilience needed to detach from difficult situations. It is also important to recognize that emotional detachment is not about avoiding emotions altogether. Emotions, both positive and negative, are an integral part of life. They allow us to connect with others, experience joy, and learn from our struggles. Emotional detachment is about balance. It's about understanding that while emotions are valid and important, they do not define us, nor do they need to control us. By practicing detachment, you can experience emotions without becoming consumed by them. In relationships, emotional detachment can be particularly useful. Often we become overly attached to others, seeking validation, approval, or emotional security from them. This can lead to codependency, where our sense of self-worth is tied to the actions or opinions of others. Emotional detachment in relationships is not about distancing yourself emotionally or withdrawing love. It's about finding peace within yourself so that your emotional state is not reliant on someone else's behavior. This creates healthier, more balanced relationships where both partners are emotionally independent yet still able to care for one another. In the workplace, emotional detachment is also important. Many of us get caught up in work-related stress, whether it's due to tight deadlines, difficult colleagues, or pressure to perform. If we're not careful, this stress can negatively affect our mental and physical health. By learning to emotionally detach from work-related stress, you can perform your tasks with a clearer mind and greater focus. This involves setting boundaries with work, not internalizing criticism, and recognizing when it's time to take a break or step away. Sometimes emotional detachment involves letting go of situations, people, or attachments that no longer serve you. This can be one of the hardest aspects of detachment, realizing that something or someone may no longer align with your values or contribute positively to your life. Letting go can bring about feelings of loss, grief, or guilt, but it is essential for growth and emotional freedom. By releasing what no longer serves you, you create space for new experiences, opportunities, and relationships that will nourish you emotionally. Detaching from emotional attachments doesn't happen overnight. It is a gradual process that requires patience, self-compassion, and practice. There will be moments when you slip back into old patterns of emotional attachment or when your emotions overwhelm you. However, it's important to recognize that emotional detachment is not about perfection, it's about progress. The more you practice detachment, the easier it becomes to separate your emotional responses from external situations. It's also important to remember that emotional detachment is not a form of emotional suppression. Suppressing emotions can lead to emotional and physical problems in the long run. Emotional detachment allows for the healthy processing of emotions while choosing not to let them control your actions. It is about creating a healthy balance between feeling your emotions and maintaining control over them. As you continue to practice emotional detachment, you will begin to notice the positive effects on your life. You will experience less stress, more peace of mind, and greater emotional resilience. You'll be able to navigate difficult situations without getting overwhelmed, and you'll learn to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Emotional detachment allows you to take control of your emotional well-being, enabling you to live a more fulfilling and balanced life. In conclusion, learning how to emotionally detach is not about avoiding or denying emotions, but about finding the balance between acknowledging emotions and maintaining control over them. It's about cultivating self-awareness, practicing mindfulness, setting healthy boundaries, and prioritizing self-care. Through emotional detachment, you can protect your emotional space, create healthier relationships, and build greater resilience. It takes time, practice, and patience, but the rewards of emotional detachment, inner peace, emotional freedom, and clarity are well worth the effort.